I remember this one day in class, we were discussing what we wanted to do with our future. And the question goes to my mate right to my left. And he just say, I'm just going to end up probably in a normal office job, just working away my entire life in a job that I don't really appreciate. And something stuck to me. I was like, is this what my life is going to be about? Just revolving around a random job where I'm just sitting at the computer just working away every single day. And I felt very meaningless. So I said the same answer because that was the only hope I had for the future, or not really hope, but that was the only thing realistic at that time. So I thought to myself that this is probably going to be my future. I got a little bit of an anxiety feeling at that moment just because I didn't realize what life really was going to become in the future, and I started to worry a little bit. Nothing too crazy happened, but I went on to just keep going with my life. I kept on doing the things that I felt like, and I tried to appreciate being in school. Because everybody who's older than you always says, appreciate that you're in school. Try to be grateful for the fact that you are not in the workplace where you're having to go to work every single day, you have to commute, you have responsibilities, etc. And they're probably right. But then I was like, is this really the prime years of my life? Are these going to be the best years of my life? When I got older, I wanted my life to really be the best that they could be. And a few months later, I started to discover the ability to improve ourselves and the ability to start making progress towards something fantastic. So I decided to stick to self-improvement and start by changing my mindset, setting a clear goal and adventure. And this is the entire channel of mine. I help people go from perhaps a little bit lazy, undisciplined, procrastinating, towards having a call, an adventure, and I do that via discipline, mindset, mental health, and social skills. And then, last but not least, an adventure. Something that you can utilize when you're not really in the moments of trying to improve your mindset or whatever. And if you want to slingshot past your competition, you should book a free call with a link in the description where I am your accountability partner. I will help you set your goal. I will help you sort the things out that you feel like you've been struggling with. And also you can grab a 3-step discipline guide with a link in the description completely for free, and you can literally just read through everything that you need to do. But now I want to talk a little bit more about the protocol specifically that I would use to literally get rid of this in just 7 days, because when I started to improve myself, it just went away completely. So first of all, I want you to understand that it doesn't take that much time to actually do this. I don't know why I can't really grab the pen here. I don't even know why. I think it's because my screen recording thing is in the way. I'll try to move that right here and we'll see. Yeah, now it works. I hadn't actually prepared for that. So basically what you just have to do is you have to pick a goal. So pick your goal. First of all, you need to understand that if you want to stop worrying about the future, you need to know where you want to end up, because as I described earlier, I didn't really have a direction for myself, or I did have a B point of where I wanted to end up, but it wasn't an unhappy one. It wasn't one where I really wanted to end up. So I decided that now you need to decide a new goal, and the very, very simplistic way of doing these things are just a 2-step method that I like to utilize when it comes to accomplishing a new goal. First of all, write a list of 10 things that you would like to achieve, for example 10 goals, and write them in the present form. So you say I weigh, I earn, I drive such and such a car, I do these things, I can play basketball at this level, or whatever. And you set yourself the task to do this in 365 years. So in 1 year, what would be reasonably unreasonable for me to accomplish? And you think to yourself, okay, I could actually make this team in this sport or whatever. And you think to yourself, what is a reasonably unreasonable goal that I could set myself to actually accomplish during the upcoming year from now? And you write these 10 goals, and just discipline you to write 10 goals. So you have your 10 goals right here, and then what you have to ask yourself is pretty simple. What one goal would have the greatest positive impact on my life if I were to accomplish it today? This will help you get an idea of what that goal could be. Another thing, if you have, let's say you have two goals right here. There is a sport and there is perhaps, let's say you wanna like study slash go to school. You simply ask yourself one thing. I actually got a message. I forgot to turn on like do not disturb. I'm sorry about that. And you ask yourself, what would be the negative thing that I would actually appreciate about this thing? So what are the downside of this? Okay, so when it comes to a sport, it can be fatigue. It can be dealing with setbacks in both of those goals. And to be more specific, in a sport, it can be like when you're not making progress. And when it comes to studying, it can be not getting the grade that you want, or it can be that you don't have a teacher that you like. You see what I'm getting at here? You have to ask yourself, what would be the downsides that I would most like to have when it comes to my own life? And once you've structured up this list of 10 and you maybe have one or two goals that seem a little bit more interesting, then you just need to ask yourself, what would be the negative thing that I would like to occur, like most likely want to occur, because this will be the thing that will either break you or flourish you into the person that you want to become. Because imagine you pick something where you hate the negative, where you can't stand it, you just can't bear through it. Then it will all be wasted, and you will probably just like forget this and just like, I don't want to do this anymore, and then you change it up to something new and you've just resetted your progress. It's like if you were about to like run a marathon. Let's say you are here, you're going to run a marathon, you're going to run 42 kilometers, and then when you've ran like 30 kilometers, at 42 kilometers you get the award, you get the trophy or whatever, and you start getting the result. But like at kilometer 30, you say like, oh, I haven't got the result and it's too hard, I keep trudging and it's very, very difficult. Well, you've ran 30 kilometers, why don't you just finish the last 12? Like, try to at least do it. And then you just quit here and you got none of the results, but you just got the pain. So what, like, ask yourself, like, if it was a marathon, would you really want to do it that way? So this is how you actually stick with something and pick it and be ruthless about it. Like, you have to be the type of person who can stick with something for such a long time that all of your competitors are gonna give up before you. Like, the results can be like you can get 0 views on YouTube and your videos are so good that you're improving like by 5% every single video, but you still get 0 views. But you're like, okay, so I'm running a marathon here, I'm not running a 100-meter race, I'm going to actually accomplish these goals. And you think to yourself, I'm just gonna focus on improving the process and putting in effort towards the goal. And how this will end up is like, you will actually get to that B point and feel purposeful and feel fulfilled just because you focused on the process instead of actually the external result. So understand the importance of just picking a goal and sticking to it. Imagine in 1 year where you could be. There was actually a study done on this. I think it took 100 hours across 1 year to become like in the 1 percentile of people. So to get into the 1% of something, you just need to practice something for 100 hours over the course of 1 year. And that was like, I don't even know, but I don't want to do the math on the top of the head, but it was like something ridiculously low every single day. It was like less than 20 minutes, like less than 20 minutes per day to get like in the top 1 percentile of something. And if you just stick to something and have fun, you can literally accomplish it. I promise you that, because I do this with YouTube and my YouTube results. I promise myself that if you look in a few years from now and you see a period of growth and you see a moment where I actually progressed, not in the external results, but mostly in the way I speak, in the way I pronounce things, in the way I deliver myself. It is the moments where I put in the most effort and I do have the most fun in the process and I feel the most fulfilled. So try to just optimize for the process of doing something, for the sake of doing these things. That's why it's so important to have that list of 10 things that you specifically want to do. So now when we've picked your goal, you have to ask yourself these two questions, as I just said. What one goal, if I were to accomplish it today, would have the greatest positive impact, and what would be the negative thing that I would want to experience? Now, moving on to accomplishing it. First of all, grit and discipline. Grit is, I think it is the best predictor of success. It's your ability to stick to something. I spoke about this a little bit earlier, about this marathon analogy as I made. It's like, if you're running a marathon and you're at kilometer 30 and you get this new idea, okay, so I'm going to start running 800-meter races instead. And you're like, this is the best idea that I've ever got. This is like, I am going to do this because the prize pool, if you win it, is like $1,000,000, for example. So many zeros to draw. It's $1,000,000 if you win this 800-meter race, for example. I'm just making this up. But then you're at kilometer 30 in your marathon that you're running, and let's say the price is like it's $1,000, for example, in this scenario. And you're like, okay, I'm quitting this. I'm just going to focus on this now because like in 3 months from now I can get $1,000,000 instead of 1,000. But why didn't you complete the marathon in the beginning? Why didn't you complete it when you had the opportunity to just run 12 more kilometers? It would just take you like 1 or 2 more hours of your time. Then you can dedicate yourself to running that 800-meter race. So what you have to understand is that if you can just stick with something, like most people cannot stick with anything. They're so like distracted. They're on social media. They get a new shiny object syndrome. They want a new thing. Like, and I'm saying this with genuine, more like of a positive thing, because that will set you apart. If you just have the ability to stick with something for like a few months or years, you will literally be at the place where you want to be. Because if you just believe in yourself, stick with something, you put in effort towards improving this thing, and you try to review it, and you try to gain feedback, and you put in even more effort at it, as I just described, you will be in the top percentile, like, fast, just because you've worked so hard. And I'm just saying this because, like, I want to be a beacon of hope and like motivation for the people who feel like I'm not really at the place where I want to be right now. But I want you to understand that if you just make something and you just try and don't give a fuck about other people, because one of the things that I realized was that I probably should stop caring about what other people think of me, considering that most people don't even like themselves. Just let that sink in for a moment. I genuinely feel like I should stop caring about what other people think of me, considering that most people don't even like themselves. Most people have negative thoughts about themselves. Most people don't really talk positively about themselves. They don't have self-confidence. They struggle like to take action, to work hard. But it is these things that actually make you question why you put other people's opinions on a pedestal. So just understand that if you just have some grit and discipline, and you can actually go your own path, I promise you that you can go further than anyone else. Because the person who likes walking will walk further than the person who loves the destination. So now when it comes to discipline, you can grab my 3-step discipline guide with a link in the description. It is completely free, no strings attached to it, nothing. And then when it comes to mastery, you have to fall in love with the grind. You have to be the person who's like, I'm just doing this for the sake of grinding away. I just want to focus on my mission. I just want to focus on getting to that B point, because it's not about like the result that I want, the money, the status. It's about none of these things. It's just about the grind. It's just about the B point. And of course, this will come to you if you focus on the grind, because you will be able to pursue things with grit, to pursue things with discipline, just because you love the grind. So try to actually understand that mastery is the greatest form of these things. Mastery is the ultimate form of power. This is Robert Greene's book Mastery, by the way. He says that. And if you just understand that if you just want to pursue something, you should stick with mastery. The ability to become a master in your industry, to just get in 10,000 hours into something with effort, not just 10,000 random hours when you're feeling a little bit tired, because like when it comes to a few things, like most people are not like elite level drivers, even though some people may have spent like more than 10,000 hours behind the steering wheel. It's just because they haven't actually done it with intention. And also one thing that I want to give praise for here is like intention. Setting a daily intention is actually pretty great. And I'm not the person, I don't really do this, but like my father is really good at this. He does this, I think he does it every single day, I'm not even sure, but like I just want to say that if you set an intention, I promise you that it will help you. It's probably something that I should start doing, but that's just all off the top of my head. And my story, let's just dive into that pretty quickly. I think it was about a month ago, I was in the kitchen in an apartment, and I was actually talking to my father, and we were speaking back and forth about my YouTube channel, because I just uploaded a video from a video structure where Eamon Gadji had like said, this is the exact structure that I use to go viral and to gain appointments or whatever, and like he said to do these three steps and then do these things. And I uploaded the video and I watched my YouTube analytics, and it had gotten like 1 view in 24 hours. Which is literally terrible, like 1 view in 24 hours. It's not terrible when you're starting off, but you know, 1 view in 24 hours, and you usually get like 20 views, perhaps like 30 views, sometimes 50 views, sometimes 10 views, sometimes 1 view was the worst video my video has ever performed for me. But I just realized that it's not about the status, but it's not about the results. And I just spoke to my father and I was like, I want to quit this. I don't really want to do this anymore. And he just said, why don't you just reframe the question into, how do I make this fun? And why am I doing this in the first place? This is why the first exercise is so important that you do and you genuinely clarify it, because what I hadn't done at this point was that I just did it for the sake, I said I was doing it for the sake of helping people and YouTube, but when the results weren't showing, I was just quitting. I wanted to quit because like subconsciously I was doing it for the status and like the results, I would say, the vanity metrics, like for example the views, the likes, the followers, and you know these things, the vanity metrics on YouTube, and I was just trying to pursue it from these things. And since that point, I've just threw it completely away, and I've tried to be as authentic as possible. That's why I'm not making hyper stimulating content. And if you are the type of person who's watching this, you're probably in the top percentile of attention span. I literally promise you that, because if you can sit through a 19-minute video, you probably have one of the best attention spans in the world, to be honest. But like, how do we deal with setbacks? You simply will have to have a strong why, as I just described earlier, because these things go into each other, like mastery, and then just define your why. Why am I doing this? A strong reason, because in the summer, I was also about to quit YouTube. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore, because I fell into almost kind of like, not a depression, a very not a depression, but like I fell into a state where producing content was directly linked to anxiety and the feeling of like, I don't want to do this, I'm trudging when I'm doing this, I feel like I'm walking upstairs, and it's just like, I don't want to do this anymore, just please let me just spend time with my friends. But I was like, one part of my brain was like, but this is the thing that you really should do. And then I almost quit that. I almost quit YouTube because of that. So define a strong reason for why you're doing these things and try to be authentic, because now when I'm authentic, I promise you that I'm not very like fired up for this video. I'm not extremely like motivated today, because I'm feeling a little bit tired in my brain, and I feels like my brain is a little bit slower than it usually is. But I'm doing this for the sake of loving the work, loving the mission, loving the grind. It's nothing more fun that I can think of right now. It's a Saturday and the time is soon like 8 p.m. So the last thing that I want to touch on is how to avoid shiny object syndrome. And what shiny object syndrome is, like when you switch from one thing to another, then you switch from to another thing, then another thing, then another thing, then another thing. You just keep on switching. And how we avoid this is through everything that we spoke about earlier. So first of all, define your goal. Write out that list of like 10 goals. Ask yourself what one goal you would most like to achieve, and once you've defined that goal, you can actually go about like asking yourself what would be the negative thing that I would most like to achieve, and usually it is linked to the goal that you picked here about the positive return on investment. So when it comes to these things, you just have to realize that you just need to pick a goal that you would actually like to suffer for, and that would have a very, very positive impact on your own life. And then you just develop grit and discipline. So when it comes to like grit, you just need to fall in love with the process. I'm just summarizing things up here because like for the people who like feels like I've been a bit all over the place, perhaps I am, but like you just have to fall in love with the process, and the way you do that is actually pretty simple. You have a strong why, and that comes through actually asking yourself some deep questions and being very, very honest about yourself. And a strong a strong why will make you love the process, which will actually go back into your why again. Like, okay, so I'm loving the process, I'm doing it right now, and it goes back into your why because you start accomplishing like the goal. So for example, your why could be to contribute. For example, this is like my YouTube channel, contribute and talk about the things that you really, really care about. For example, I really, really care about like young people who want to change their life through discipline, mindset, social skills, and like fitness, and make a strong adventure for them. And I really want to help people, and I just love that, and that makes me want to do the process even more and work even harder, just because like there's nothing more fun that I could be doing with my time than just working. So that's one thing. And this is how you just fall in love with the process and try to strive for mastery. And mastery simply is that you become a master of your skill. You become the best at your skill. You want to become so good at something that it feels like if somebody would wake you up at a random, like after like 3 hours of deep sleep, if somebody would just pick on you and just say, excuse me, what is this thing about this thing? For example, if you're interested in history, if somebody would ask you about some random thing that happened during World War II, for example, and you can literally repeat something that like 99.99999% of people who are actually interested in history couldn't repeat, but you're actually able to do it when you're 3 hours in of deep sleep. But that's just one thing that you have to keep in mind. Keep striving for that. If you are the type of person who needs a little bit more accountability, who just wants somebody on the grind who they can talk to and get ideas from, because you don't need to, you can have some things figured out and still want to talk to people and gain more of a context and stuff like that, you should absolutely book a free call with a link in the description. I just want to talk to people who are on the grind or on the mission to actually achieving something great. And if you are the type of person who's like watched this entire video, like great, you've got a really great attention span, like big up to you. You're probably you're going to make it, I promise you, if you just put in the work, because if you're able to sit through a 25-minute video just like this one, that says a lot about you as a person, and I really, really mean that in a positive way. Now I'm going to stop yapping. Have a great rest of the day or night or whenever you're watching this. Goodbye.